Na yoho new. Isewa ikehe kwana, isewa ikehe ku. Dini kong kiki makata, dini kong kiki dan shimehoi. Dan Jibi, dan Timet ai. Dini kong kiki ti tatahiadi. We bring this direction to our brothers and sisters who live in the direction of the Father Sun is coming, the sunrise. We are here to honor life. We greet all beings, all relatives, all animals, minerals, and all what exists in this direction. And we are grateful because one day we came from the primordial waters with the sun rays of Grandpa Sun. Na, yo, you.
It's 5 o'clock.
Isen wagike chikwada chiku. Ihmewa, rasukoi kwa. We wait to the white direction, the direction that once we came from, we came, following the ducks as we were instructed by the mushroom people. Because there's no, was so hard that we had to come here to look for shelter. So we are honoring our ancestors. And we greet all the peoples who live in this direction, to the Hopi, to the Blackfeet, Chilcotin, Shuswap, to the Iroquois Confederacy, to the Lakota, Nakota, and Dakota, to the Seminole, Cheyenne, to the Apache, the Mescalero, the O'odham, and all peoples who live in this direction, and they have been keeping the ancestral ways of living with Mother Earth in harmony and in peace. We also greet the Great Canyon and the Copper Canyon and the Sonora Desert and the seas where the whales are mating. We also greet the spider because remind us the way of life. Dikhamadi. Now, to the east, the place of mystery. Now, yoho, you. Yisenwai kese chikwala chiku chinana chichikulu dikmewa. To the direction of the black, the direction of the mystery. We're honoring this direction on all the peoples and the seas, and also the living beings and the entities and the guardians of the sacred places. We honor the most beautiful places in this direction, and also that we are interconnected underneath. Dikamadi. Na, Yoho, New. Dikamadi Makimun, Kamadi Makitari Mwa. To all our brothers and sisters in this direction, especially to the jungle, the Lacandon, the Amazon, and all peoples who live in this direction, the Guarani, the Ashuar, the Kogi, the Cancamo, the Arhuaco, the Wiwa, the Maya, the Zapotec, the Mixtec, the Mapuche, the Laquenche, and all the peoples who live in this direction of the Andes, and also the islands, the Caribbean, the sacred places like Tulum, Chichen Itza, Mayapan Uxmal, Chichán, Caral, Machu Picchu, Viracocha. For you, brothers and sisters, and all living beings and the sacred animals like the condor and the jaguar and the anaconda, to the sacred plants like mambe, yahe, floripondia, and all sacred plants that live in this direction and honoring our grandmother and grandfathers of the mushroom people. Hamadi. Now, Yoho, you. Tokar Bentinusaki, Tokar Bentinumui, Hamadi Makimu, Hamadi Makita, Dihmewa, Dine Kyoki, Dan Shimehoi, Dine Kyoki, Dan Dine Kyoki, Tatahiari, Nazana, Mother de Dikamadi. To the heart of the sky and all entities and deities that are helping us to survive in this world during these times. We greet the heart of the sky and the leading star, that's all Venus and the Pleiades and Grand Moon, and also Tatahiari, the Father, Son. From this Mother Earth, we greet all the celestial bodies and all the people who honor the eagle, because we are also eagle people. Now, Yoho, you, now to Mother Earth. Nangingu, Nangingu, Tanshimehoi, Makihmu, Nangingu, Tanshimehoi. Nangingu, nangingu, 50 shimo eke bubu. Nangingu, nangingu, 50 shimo eke bubu. Heya, heya, heya. The Kamari. Brothers and sisters, grandfathers, and beautiful men of this gathering and the earth, the Mother Earth delegation. We are sharing with you the Otomi-Toltec ancestral ceremony. This is a greeting ceremony to the four directions, to the heart of the sky, to the heart of Mother Earth. And before I finish, we are going to just blow the shell that connects us with the sky. This is a great honor to be here during these times and this space, because this is the time for us. The time has come. This is the time because 500 years ago, in the Americas and before in Africa and other continents, the invasion began. But we have been resilient. We have kept our practices, not in an easy way. So the Temuaya Declaration, the declaration of the 5 peoples of Central Mexico, it is said, when the Spaniards arrived and Europeans arrived, the sun, our father's sun went down, and we have been living for more than 500 years in darkness. But now, the flourish world is returning. The flourish world is coming back. And we are here to remember who we are, to remember the law of origin, to remember the law of nature and the law of Mother Earth in conjunction with the celestial bodies. My name is Mindahi Bastida from the Otomi-Toltec peoples from Central Mexico. And we are related to the Maya peoples and later on the Aztec. But before, we were one family with Olmec, the mother of our cultures, that gave birth to our calendars, that until today, they are exquisite, they are wonderful, because they are teaching us how to live in harmony and in balance with Mother Earth. We just need to remember who we are. Because this ancestral science, this ancestral knowledge is meaningful for the survival as human species. How to live in harmony with nature is to live in harmony with us, because we are nature. But Mother Earth is suffering now. Our mother is crying. Our mother is sweating. Our mother is haunting. When I was just recently in the Dead Sea, by the Dead Sea in Jordan, at 3 a.m., I was listening to this woman screaming, and I couldn't understand where it came from. But until I realized that those screams were coming from the bottom of the sea, of the Dead Sea, I understood that Mother Earth is telling us to behave, is telling us to support her and live with her, have peace with her. Brothers and sisters, our grandfathers and grandmothers told us that we need to live in balance with other beings, and especially among us. Women, the feminine, and men, the masculine. We need to live in this harmony and honor life, because this is the time to come together. And the unification process is to honor balance. No one ahead, no one behind, but together. If we want to make it, it is the time. Now, brothers, our blessings to you. With your hand in your heart, here. Now I want to ask Grandpa Angaangaq, who is also known as Uncle Angaangaq, from the beautiful place, from the beautiful Greenland, to give us and present himself, to give us his wisdom, his words. Thank you, Uncle. Go ahead.
Mindahi and your family. Hoho, Oyana. My name is Angaangaq, and it means the man who looks like his uncle. I'm from the very top of the world. I have so many things I want to tell, but there's a very limited time I have. I have just started to go through what I thought was an easy path in my life. Then I ran into an obstacle. After more than 6 months not seeing my beloved wife, Shanika, I went to see her, who is in an Alzheimer's home for the last 11 months, and realized that she has physically deteriorated so badly that I thought the path we both were on was so beautiful. And today I feel like a broken winged bird. In our tradition, the family consists of the female, which is always closest to the heart, and the man far away from the heart. They say that it is our responsibility to lift up the family. Yes, my beloved Shanika wing have broken, and so has mine. And I realize it's really a difficult time coming to us, which reminds me of the teachings of our beloved grandmother. Angaangaq is her name. I grew up with the teachings as a child, and I listened to them because we were told to listen and listen more. If we could do that, then we will be able to tell a living story. So I have listened and listened and listened. I listened to the stories of that time will come that the big river will arrive. And I always thought that this river, the physical river for the up in the mountains where the lakes are frozen, which contains a lot of fish, as the warm sun comes and it will expand the water and it will break the ice and all the fish will come down. We were warned not to jump, not to be at the too close to the water, because she comes in waves and then she can sweep us away. And she says, and if your family falls in, do not jump into the river. Learn to say thank you to your family. Say thank you to them and say how much they mean to you, what they have meant to you in your life. And then wish them well and run up on the mountain. Because after the big river, the world which will come needs you. Now that I'm a grandfather, and my beloved Seneca is a grandmother, now I'm the only one who can take care of the grandchildren, because she can no longer take care of anybody, not even herself. So I always thought that this big river would be becoming a physical river. I'm beginning to doubt if it is so, because now we have Corona, and I'm watching the world in which I live, how many people have died in a very short span of time. Just 400 feet across from my wife's home, 59 elders died over the weekend because of that illness, a pandemic. And then so many people in my family's home in United States of America, so many people dying every single day. And around in Europe and all over the world. And I wonder if it is not the big river. But the most important of the teaching is that many will die, many will barely survive, few will have a life. And now that just yesterday, 2 days ago, when my wing broke, realizing that my beloved one is physically deteriorating so badly that she has in 6 months shrunk 5 centimeters, which is a lot. Then how can I carry on with the teachings? What kind of strength can I have to be able to care for my beloved, for our children and our grandchildren and whole family which is being affected? It is a really, really interesting time. Probably tonight when I go to sleep, I will wonder again if what happened less than 2 days ago, if it is that I can no longer be. How can it be after 38 years of being together with a beautiful being, and she's now deteriorating to the point that no one really can help her anymore? He said the big river for me. He said the most difficult times I will ever go through. He said the big river. I don't know. But there's a beautiful, beautiful prayer in our tradition. And my grandmother speaks about it so simply. she says that if me, Angaangaq, remember him, the man who made us, he will send healing to me. And then she will say, if you say his name in our tradition is Pingo Chichiso, which means the man who made us. Then he will send more healing to me. Then she will carry on and say, if you cry out his name, and the way we cry out his name is, ho, ho, ho. Then he will send more healing to me. And she will look at us and say, but there will come a time when there's no more healing to be done. And when I think back, as a child listening to her, that I had then just lost my grandfather, my father's father. What it would mean if I lost my grandmother. And in 3 weeks' time, a year ago, I lost my great aunt at Angakkorsuaq. She was the oldest one in the family, and she was just about 94 years old. Of her passing, that made me the oldest one in the entire family of my grandmother. And I'm only a young man of 73 years old. And with the broken wing I feel I have now, how can I do things? So I have just come home from a walk, preparing myself to meet you. And attempting to find that strength that my wing can spread with such a strength that I will be able to lift my beloved along with me. So we together can soar like an eagle and come to realize our own immensity within. So I wanted to tell that because I know that I'm not the only one who's going through difficult times. I know many in our families of the Indigenous world are going through difficult times as well. That's why I wonder if the big river has not come. But I do not know. But I know that at the end of the day, that many will die, many will barely survive, few will have a life. And my beloved Seneca, and we talked about it so many times in our 38 years together, that we wanted to be old together, arm in arm, walking down the street, walking ancient path of my land, meeting with the path of the caribou, meeting with the path of the musk oxen, and other animals of this land I come from. And being able to say together, oh, we made it. But now I had to carry her. She cannot walk on her own anymore. And I need to say my prayer. And if you do not mind, I know you do not know me, but I feel belonging to the other elders because I am one of those elders. I'm probably not a very good elder because I use makeup to make myself look younger. I don't know if it works today, but I need to say the prayer. The prayer says that if I remember him, the man who made us, he will send me healing. And if I say his name, that he will send me more healing. And then when I cry out his name, ho, 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 then he will send more healing. But at the end of the day, there will come a time that there's no more healing to be done. And this is where I'm beginning to see that my beloved wife is beginning to arrive to the state. There's no more healing to be done in her Alzheimer's. And I need the strength in my wing so I can lift her up. So we too can become old together and walk the path, ancient path of my grandmother's land, where my family has lived for more than 5,000 years. This is the way I do the prayer. Oh ho! Oh ho! Oh ho! 나고사지고 빙오티티 시득가인 나가겠기 아호 윤노시다소 Dear family, accept my apology for being weak. One day I will be a strong man. I promised myself that I will have my wing fixed. I don't know how, but I want to be of service not just to my family and my beloved wife, but to all the fellow elders whose path has crossed my path. Feel my deep respect for all of you. And feel my love for all of you. Oh,
Oh, thank you so much, Uncle Angaangaq. We love you so much. We love you. We love your territory as well.
oh.
And all the teachings and all the wisdom that you are holding. Now we are going to hear from Grandfather Milo Yellowhair from the great Oglala Sioux Nation, Turtle Island. Please go ahead, Grandpa.
Oh. Ela petu ki ai na pechuza. Ja. Lekshi takuya. Ena ko chankuki he toni tagani opta auhamni pacha pitashni. Takumani kaya ashna ohokishni on elokinaji. He takuki lila. Shitas eleta. Ho ashna takuki hanichi iwahunyam. Gashi trion ke anashna hensashna vogalaka. But to Kinish and Nichi Uilo Abashna. And actually, the Xion, the sheet go on the Bogalake, Chahecha, Iopia. Takon Epina, on Chantewa stick and age, Chantet Inzing Taheche, and not a communicate call. Hence, watching Wallow down Petuki. I want to say good day, and Petuaste to everybody. It's a good day because we are alive. It's a good day because we are breathing. It's a good day because we reflect the beautiful families that we come from, the nations that we belong to. It's a good day to be sad. It's a good day to be happy. It's a good day to remember our grandfathers and grandmothers. For me, it's been a hard situation because it's hard for me to think of myself as a grandfather. Usually, grandfathers are in their 90-year-old times. And I always remember that we go through 4 cycles of life, they always say. When you were a baby, when you were a young man, you become an old man, then you become a grandfather. In these 4 circles of life, we each has a ceremony. Because I was growing up and I was just like any young boy, not have a care in the world, enjoying things in life. Then one day, I went back to see my grandfather and my grandmother. And my grandfather was still sitting in his usual chair. My grandmother was at her place. She was always cooking, you know. So, like a young man, I walked into the house and, hello, Grandpa, hello, Grandma. My grandmother said, oh, she said, we chash on here. Says, grandfather, he said, my grandmother said to my grandfather, he said, come, there's a young man. A man came into the house. And she said that without even looking at me. And it turns out that I realized that my voice has changed from a young boy to a young man. And he told her, my grandfather, that you should give me a name to live by, a name to work with. And so later in that same summer, my grandfather made a ceremony and gave me the name Wahokisa Nupa. Waokizo Nupa in English means two lance, which was a family name. And he said to me that you must carry a lance in the white world, and you need to carry a lance in the Lakota world, he said. He says, because these are two worlds that you are going to be a part of. He says, you have to recognize the two of them, he said. But a warrior you can be the best that you can be. If you're going to speak English, speak it well. You're going to speak Lakota, use the word that means something in Lakota. So with that in mind, which was for me a sage, a cane to live by. And so as a young man, I realized that I was entering another phase of my life that there before I never understood. But now I had a lance, a warrior to carry on in this world, So, and at that time, our history of the Lakota people became crystal clear of all the things that happened in my life and all the things that happened in my English life. The education, pursuit of education, the athletics, all of these things that would mean something to this white world. But to the Lakota world, those were all given. But so we just had to give ceremony back to this earth. And ceremony is something that is lacking in our everyday life. And so that's the reason why they did these ceremonies for us. One thing I want to also talk about is in one of those ceremonies, it's called a Wichoni Yukikta, to wake up life. And I didn't really understand that life, that situation, but it was the idea that it was to awaken a survival gene that is part of the DNA of the human being. To awaken this survival gene, to pray to it, because it's hidden. Because so many of us are so protective, our children, our grandchildren, that they forget what the child should also experience: a little bit of pain, sorrow, a little bit of life-changing time. So that when you realize that when you come to a hard place to be at, you realize that this gene is alive in you and it's going to carry you on into the next life. And this is things that happened. So this survival gene usually is awakened by putting the child in water and to take away the breath for a little bit, to come face to face with death and to go overcome it, to realize that it's there and to continue on with life, realizing that it is one that is always will be with you. So these two things, these ceremonies in our lives must be respected, must be adhered to. And today, there are scientists today that say that, this ancient knowledge that belongs to the peoples of this earth that walked on this earth for many thousands and thousands of years, they may be right after all. So today, scientific evidence and scientific research is pointing to this realization that ancient knowledge by indigenous peoples who lived and loved on this land for thousands of years, there is something to that. This is something that we celebrate by sun dancing. We do that by going up on the hill for 4 days and 4 nights and praying for a vision, praying for a way, praying to be a complete understanding. Trying to understand ourselves as who we are as a human being. And these are the things and what we are doing on this earth, to recognize this beautiful earth that we live on. we have to make the earth more beautiful in order to reflect that beautiful life, the beautiful person that you are as you walk on this life. And we realize that death is always near us. We also realize that loneliness is also very near us. So it's to realize these, and to, in spite of those two ideals, we make ceremony. We pray in the morning when the sun comes up. We pray when the sun goes down. And we tell our stories at the high time of the day, so there are no shadows in the language that we talk about, in the language that we speak. There will be no shadows between us, as we say, between us, you, so that we can come to you as a human being. We come to you as a person that we are, and to celebrate that fact. So these are the things that goes on. So as I realized earlier, as I mentioned, ceremony in life, and sometimes people always say, how long am I going to live? How long am I going to walk on this earth? In Lakotas, they have a ceremony for this too. Because sometimes some things get into your head and it stays there and stays there until you can really realize what might be, something must be done in order to take it away. And such a thing is less question of who am I, how long am I going to live? And in this particular ceremony, they take what they call a wichitegalera. And so wichitegalera is what the white man calls a badger. And this badger is then killed ceremoniously, and then his entrails and everything is taken out, and they open it up and put the legs to the sides, all in the 4 directions, and let the blood coagulate, gather at the base of along the spine of this animal. And then the person who is looking to find out how old he's going to live is asked to look inside. And in this reflection of inside in the blood, if you'll see an old person, it means that you're going to live a long time. And if you see somebody young, it means that you're going to die young. These are the kind of ceremonies that we have in Lakota people, ceremonies that we live by, because we understand that the mind is a great thing. It can imagine many, many different things. But to imagine a life where that everybody has a chance in it is something that we also can realize. Because we are just one drop in an ocean of knowledge that is out there. But we, through prayer, through ceremony, we can achieve these things. And it's that way that I'm very happy that Mindahi did his ceremony this morning to start us out in a way that it should be, and how Uncle there talks about the pain of living, of finding a partner, and then realizing that she is slowly fading away. We always say, "Wana khehani chawana ki bebelak teloya." You live a long time and you become a baby again. This is something that we always have to think about. Because, you know, the mind can leave us anytime. The reasons why we live can leave us anytime. But I'm going to say that much today as a grandfather. I hope to live more years, more lives. Because, you know, I don't count the days like a white person does. I count the days as a Lakota does. Every day is special. Every day must be lived. Every day you must show your love. Every day you must take a breath. Every day you must pray. And always that, don't forget to smile. Don't forget to dance. And always be kind as you walk on this daily life. So I want to say that much and leave you with a song Wakantrakashila Pila Maya Yellow Hey Chanupa Wakancha Maya Guelo Yo Hey Pila Maya Yellow Hey we chose Aniwa Maya Kuelo Pila Maya Pila Maya Yellow. Grandfather, you gave me a pipe. Grandfather, you gave me a way to live. Thank you very much. Pila Maya Pelo. Echitu.
Thank you, Grandfather Milo. Thanks a lot to the sacred places that you are around the Black Hills.
Oh.
We are also thankful with the women that are present in this call, in this gathering. Thanks for being there for us as we were there for you. All the grandmothers and all women that are attending this call, not just here, but all over the world. And now it is the time for Grandfather Randy Lace from the great Oglala Sioux Nation, Turtle Island, to share his wisdom, his words, and his time and space. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Hello, greetings from South Dakota, and I'm from the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, and homeland is the Black Hills, center of all things. And first of all, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to speak to you. And the word grandfather is such a high honor because you have to live so many years and accomplish so many tasks to be in that seated area, grandfather. Because we always, as myself, one of them, we always look up to people who lived that era and have still lived that era. And I still listen to those individuals because those words mean a lot. And I carry those words for them with a prayer. Even though I'm not a singer, I use my language and I use my prayers to keep their spirit alive. And one day, because I know that one day I won't be here myself, and I hope that whoever picks it up and carries it for me as well, along with all the other grandfathers. So with that, I'd like to share something with you. The last time I was honored to be on this Zoom call, I talked about the race around the Black Hills, the way I was told, because Tioshpaye and Tiwahe, families and extended families, the race around the Black Hills is told in many versions, in many ways. And it depends on where you come from and how it's spoken too. And so the way I told it at that time was the way I was told. And that's the way I pass it on, how the Black Hills came too. So from there, I like to add on to a story, which is these stories that are told takes time, and it takes days, and it takes hours. But with what we got right now, limited time, we have to shorten our stories, and just get to the point where hopefully people who listen, the audience, will capture that spirit and will maintain it and have a better understanding when they leave this Zoom. And maybe weeks, days following afterward, they'll come to them. Because we say in Lakota, stories are waka. And every time the story is told, it changes. And we tell people, don't worry when you retell the story, because the sacredness guides you and tells you and expands the story. So with that, I'd like to talk about one of the star constellation, because the stars above us are the blueprint of what's down below. And everything that we cherish is up in the skies. And that's where everything is located. But today, we have education, Western philosophy. All these have tried, and they're trying their best to erase our knowledge, our wisdom. And they try to manipulate the minds of the younger generations by teaching the younger generations their way of life. So that means when you look up at the stars through the textbooks that was taught, they teach you like Aries, Orion Belt, and all these, Zeus. Our way of life has been erased, nearly erased from the textbooks. So the only way we maintain our way of life is we tell it, oral stories. So one of the stories that was passed on to me was one of the star constellation called Orion Belt. And in the center of that Orion Belt, you have 3 stars. And on the other side, you have 1. And in the center, you have 3 stars, which looks like an arrowhead or like a tree. We call it Matotipila, Bear Lodge. And the reason why we call it Matotipila was long ago, a mama bear, when she was young, she was raised in the way anybody should be raised, with love, with compassion, principles, and values. And this is how parents are supposed to be. And this is how they were in the past. And some still maintain that principles and values, which they pass on to their children. So as this bear grew, and as when she came to as an adult, her parents passed away. So as this bear lived on, she was lonely and she was all by herself and lived a life. But she maintained her strength, because women, they have the strength to move forward, and they live longer, and they guide the males. They help them, they nurture them. So as this cub, who became a bear now, a mama bear, lived a lonely life for years. And as time went on, the creator looked upon them, looked upon her, her parents, and how she was raised. So as years went on, we used the seasons. We call them wetu, paloketu, ptayetu, wanietu. Spring, summer, fall, and winter. This is connected to the 4 directions as well, and the 4 cycles of life that we live, what Milo talked about. Wakanja, then you have the young male, the adult, then you have the elders, the 4 stages of life. Everything that we do in Lakota makes that connection with the number 4 or 7. In this factor, we have seasons. So during the wetu, spring season, the way she was raised was when she came out of her den, they taught her to eat only the areas within the where she lived, shrubs. But when spring came, bloquetu, they took her out further, where she ate berries. Then the next stage was tayetu, which is fall. They took her even further out, which then they fed her like fish. Then right before the hibernation came, which was wanietu, they took her further out, and they taught her how to hunt and bring down elk, deers, meat for strength, protein. So once that happened, that cycle happened. When the 4th cycle ended, they came back into the den. And years went by, and the creator looked upon this mama bear now. She was lonely. So the final stage, when she went back in, the Creator came down and blessed her. And then the Creator went back up. So come spring, total darkness, something was nudging her. So she nudged it back, but not knowing what was there. So as she nudged that, whatever that was, got up, and as she walked out, something was walking behind her. So as she came out of the den, she looked back, and miraculously, there was a cub. The Creator blessed her with the cub because the life that she lived was unhappiness. But through those sadness, through those tears, she gained strength and she gained understanding of who she was and who she is supposed to be. So the blessing came upon her. So with this cub, she raised this cub the way she was raised, with principles and values, and taught her the 4 seasons: shrubs, berries, fish, and meat. The cycle continued. So as this cub grew and became an adult, the final stage, they went back in there after the 4th one, not knowing what was going to happen. So as they made their final journey back into this den right here, and come spring, this bear, now a male bear, tried to nudge her mama. Mama, wake up. Wake up, Mom. It's time to get up. It's time to get out and let's move around. But this mom didn't. No sound was near it. No sound of breathing. So this bear noticed that the mom passed away. So though he was hardened, tears came out. But eventually he gained strength and knew that life had to continue because his mom taught him how to be a man, Wichasha. So through those words, he gained strength and walked out of that den. And he became and lived a lonely life himself, same as his mom. And as time continued, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, came a baby weasel, Itunkansa. That's what we call it. And these weasels, we know that they can't sit still. We call them witkotkoka. They're crazy. I mean, they don't listen. They go about left and right. No matter what you do, they're crazy. So the weasel lived its life. But what happened was the bear brought this weasel into the home and adopted this weasel. Even though this weasel was different, not a bear, but brought this weasel because questions were asked. Who are you? Where you come from? Where are your parents? So what happened was the weasel responded, my parents have passed away. They've gone before me and I'm alone. So this bear adopted this weasel, brought this weasel into the family and raised this weasel the way he was raised and the way his mom was raised. So it was a cycle of principles and values, customs. Everything was passed on traditionally. So this weasel grew and grew and always told this weasel to listen and to behave. But weasels, like we know, crazy, with otkoka, going about his business, gets in trouble. So he goes out and gnarls and growls and gets this weasel out of trouble. So finally, after making the final journey, they came back into the den. And as they made their journey back into the den after 1 year through the winter season and came spring, it was about that time the Creator knew when these bears came out of the den. So the Creator looked down and waited and waited. And finally, the Creator got fed up. So he came back down to earth and he walked into this den, total darkness. And he spoke out, Kiktapo, wake up. Yupo, come on. But there was no response. He said it 3 times. And on the 3rd time, the creator knew that the bear and the weasel had passed. They've gone before him. So the creator, even though he was the creator of all creation, his heart was hurt. Tears came out. And he kind of put his head down. And he came back out, the creator. By the time he came back out, it was darkness, clear skies, because he was in that den mourning for these 2 and watched how they were raised generation after generation. So the creator said, in order for me to honor this generation of family, I must do something. So he went back into the den and he reached into their bodies and grabbed their soul. And he walked out of that den. Then he looked up in the skies, and where should I put these 2? So he looked and he saw an opening, and he tossed their spirits up in the skies. And when he tossed their spirits, that's where Mathotipila came about, the story of Mathotipila Bear Lodge. So the story goes on. During winter times, that star lights up, and that little stick figure represents the weasel, and that opening looked like a tree is the hut of the Matho. So the way the story is told, when blizzard comes, that star, that little ihupa, that stick lights up, meaning the weasel is knocking on the door again, telling, let me in. So the way they acted, the way he acted, the weasel here on earth, was still crazy up in the skies. So because the reason why this story was told, because how they were raised and how they lived their life. So the creator honored this mama bear, the bear that she raised, the weasel, the principles and value. And he told all the creation, from this point on, when people look up in the skies and see this constellation, they will remember you. Niksuyak Delo. And for generations, they will talk about you and how you lived your life. And once that story reaches and touches the families of all Native people and Indigenous people, they will come to an understanding that family is the most important thing. It don't matter who you are, what race you are. Maybe you're Crow, maybe you're Shahila, or from a different country. Family is the most important thing. We come together and we share stories, and this is how we gain strength. And the Creator looks down upon us and honors each and every one of you. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to speak to you and share another story that was passed on to me. Because we always said, life is precious, and we have to care about that life. It don't matter who you are, where you're from. Come and let's sit down and pray. So with that, I'd like to share a prayer with you. And I hope that you can pray in your own way, how you pray. So hopo, let us pray. Tungashila, hatewa kantkanka. Holech datuki unshia wahina jile hoyeche. Hoyeche la lewichite galecha leta omas abjeta. Oyate ya na huyankapi. Na ija eapi wichoyake Oglala pila tagota. Jahokute kia hintu na wichakchiwa steo tunkashila. Na tiwahi na woti takeki awan chankayo. Eche trokate kia pta la wojela na hio mnaya donkina shipikte iushka. Tanahi kia cha tunkashila wichaki ksuya unichakchi pakintayo. Eche chankuwa yaglu wakon he aka e chaki na kina wichaki ushkayo. Trokata kia ampetu wa unkichi ubla. Heche na hiom na ta atung shapik tena unshulona unkawan kapo. Ho he on hoye chet kunkashila na michi ho na wami chaka kunkashila. Heche dolo how mitake yasi. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Grandfather Randy. Thank you so much for your prayer and beautiful. Now we are going to pass the flourish words to Grandfather Stephen Newcomb, Shawnee Lenape from Turtle Island. Go ahead, present yourself. I know you have a lot to share and you're an intellectual and we are very proud of you, brother. Grandpa, thank you. Go ahead.
Wanishi, thank you. Mindahi. Delawinsa Steve Newcomb, Nulalenda Mele Pauk. I'm going to start with a short prayer in our Lenape language. Gishilamiang, Mil Angunda Walken, Mili Angunda Walken. Wuli Nepali, Wuli Nepalinan. Wanishi Gishilamiang. Kikayu Yamananingake. Pepamausa Walken, Leheleheokan, Holta Walken. I wanted to begin with greetings to everyone that's watching this and to set the context for this conversation and for this get together here, this gathering. And of course, Mindahi set that context with his ceremony, with his daughter. And but I want to express it in a little bit different way in these terms, in terms of the words, the explanation, which is to acknowledge that each and every one of our nations has an original free and independent existence extending back to the beginning of time. And my friend and mentor, Virgil Killstraight, would always set the context by acknowledging that creation story, by explaining that little stone in the heavens, the Ea that would exploded and gave birth to to the sun. And then when you put those two meanings together, it creates Wea, which is the word for the sacred life giver, for women. And it's I believe that he was explaining that to provide an understanding of the feminine energy, the female energy as the creative life force, and the way in which that's so critically important to understand the way in which all the elements of life need to have a relationship with us. We need to have a relationship with those elements of life. And I think that's the importance of our original teachings and instructions, that we have these teachings that our ancestors provided for us, so much of which has been, I don't want to say destroyed, but really heavily damaged by the invading system that came in on top of us. When we take that original free and independent existence and we create a contrast with that system and the contrast between that system, that original free and independent existence of our peoples, all of our teachings and our instructions, our languages, the meanings, the teachings within those languages, the ways in which our ancestors understood how to interact respectfully with all the forms of life, with different ecosystems, with the waters, in order to maintain and sustain life forever. We take that and create the contrast between that kind of understanding and that kind of thought and behavior, contrast that with the system of domination that came in on top of our nations and peoples. And I think that's the really important context for every single conversation. And the reason for that is when we're all looking for these ways in which we can understand how we can find solutions to the many problems of life. and especially the major problems, but even the problems within ourselves personally, the ways in which the domination code system ends up kind of embodied within us in ways that we don't even recognize. And then we begin to act out in ways that are harmful to one another. And so we have those other models, those other teachings and instructions that we can turn to. And that's the point of the ceremonies, is to provide us with that patience and that all those different kinds of traditional laws, such as my friend Virgil Killstraight would talk about, and that Milo and others are so familiar with, and Randy and others, Loretta Freda Cook, and fortunately for us, the traditional folks, the medicine people, the carriers of the languages and the traditions, they still have those understandings. And when those systems of domination came in on top of us, they didn't have any regard for what was already existing here. And so they simply set about attempting to destroy whatever was here so that they could obtain everything for themselves to accumulate riches and wealth. And that's that America mentality, that love of riches and wealth mentality, to do whatever they can to obtain riches and wealth, no matter who they hurt or who they destroy in the process. And that's a form of affliction, that's a form of disease, dis-ease, and the destruction that occurs as a result of all that. So this is the tension, the ongoing genocide against our nations and peoples, just the whole trajectory of the history. There are specific documents that we can turn to understand about that domination code, that domination system, in the same way that we can turn to our traditional elders and knowledge keepers, wisdom keepers, to understand about our traditional teachings about the respect for life and how to have the proper kind of interaction with life. So when we look at that language system, more than 60% of which is, in the case of English, is derived directly from the Latin language of the Roman Empire, we see this constant tension back and forth. And so I think that is the real challenge that we face. How do we, Randy mentioned the idea of Western knowledge and that sort of thing. But it really, that Western worldview, the more I have studied this for more than 4 decades, I realized that it's not only Western in the sense of coming from Western Europe, but it's a domination worldview. And if I had the time, I would take folks through the meticulous examination of the concepts that maintain and sustain that domination system. And words like civilization and state and sovereignty, ascendancy, dominion, property, and empire. And when you look at each and every one of those terms, they flip right back to the idea of domination. When you take our traditional teachings and instructions, they flip back to reverence, such as my daughter Shawnee Blue Star Newcomb talks about, that reverence code as contrasted with the domination code. And I have a short quote here from our great leader Tecumseh that I just wanted to briefly read from. I don't usually read from books and talks like this, but love your life, perfect your life, beautify all things in your life, seek to make your life lifelong and its purpose the service of your people. Prepare a noble death song for the day when you go over the great divide. Always give a word of salute when meeting or passing a friend or even a stranger when in a lonely place. Show respect to all people and grovel to none. When you arise in the morning, give thanks for the food and for the joy of living. If you see no reason for giving thanks, the fault lies only with yourself. Abuse no one and nothing, for abuse turns the wise ones into fools and robs the spirit of its vision. And I think that idea of beautify all things in your life, love your life, work to have a connection with all the elements of life, all the forms of life, in the sense of the trees and the plants and the animals and and that deep, deep appreciation, that idea of respect, which means RE, to do again, and spect, which is to look again, to look, spect, and to do again. So to look twice at things and to have that deep appreciation. All the plants behind me here, it's funny because when we moved here, there were no plants in this area in this way, but my wife, Paige, she has this amazing green thumb. And so she's the person that has provided all this foliage and greenery. And she's such an amazing person that way, with her deep joy and generosity of spirit each and every day. And that's quite a blessing to have a person like that in my life, and for us to have been together for 37 years now. So I really heard the anguish of our elder from Iceland, from Greenland, and that's such a painful period to go through with our loved ones. And so there's so many challenges that we face, and these ceremonies and traditions are the things that are meant to sustain us and provide us with that guidance and strength of spirit to carry on. I have a difficult time, like Milo was mentioning, of thinking of myself in any kind of role as a elder or grandfather. It's I guess life snuck up on me, or age snuck up on me or something. But so we are getting on in years, but I think we have a long ways to go, and we're going to continue with this effort to carry the message forward. And I thank you very much for your time and attention, and thank you for your friendship, for all of you that are on this webcast that are our friends, and greetings to everyone once again, Wanishi to everyone out there.
Thank you so much, Grandfather Stephen Newcomb, for your teachings, for your intelligence and your efforts to keep the strength, and also this struggle against colonization, the ongoing colonization that we are facing until today. And thank you from my heart. Now we are going to hear from Jarmbi, original custodian from Australia, and a brother, and we have been together by the Golden Coast, and I honor your prayers and around the fire. Please go ahead and present yourself, and please also provide the flourish words, the teachings, and the original wisdom of the beautiful country of Australia. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Jingiwala from Bandalang Dagun. So welcome from this place, most easterly point of Australia, land of the first light. I'm wondered what there is to speak about today. I think all I can really speak about is my journey, my understanding of what's going on. My peoples of this land, were a lot of people in different places, different understandings, different different ways of seeing things, coming from different levels of healing from the trauma stories that we've carried and are carrying. And for myself, I feel blessed that I'm able to see things from maybe definitely a more comfortable place. I think that comfort has come a lot from allowing myself to feel things and learn as I go and not be stuck in the trauma story, to deal with the trauma as it comes. And it keeps coming. I think it was good to hear the brothers earlier speak about the old stories from their lands, from Lakota, from those areas around the Black Hills, and the understandings of having the truth of the culture, the truth of the wisdom that it never dies and is always present. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are, it's there. And it'll always come through. My understanding, a lot of the wisdom, the old wisdom hasn't been able to be really well shared, especially in my tribes. And but it is always there. Takes a bit of digging sometimes, and usually that's an inner journey first and foremost. To come to a place personally where you can recognize it when you see it. You know it when you feel it.
No.
And that's been it's been something that I've been really open in sharing, is that understanding, to find that little bit of it inside yourself so that you can see it when it's there. And always be thankful. So I don't know, I kind of understand when I see things from on a lot of different levels, where I see where the old culture, our old culture here in this country, isn't as shared as the other cultures in the world. It hasn't been put out there as much because of the age of our colonization, because the youth in it still, the ability for us to do enough healing to get to a place where we can open our hearts more. It's coming. It's very slow. That's because by the time they got here, they knew exactly what to do. They knew exactly how to do this job, and they did it well. But while even some of our brothers and sisters, and this, everything I speak of now goes for everybody. So we're all a reflection of ourselves, of everybody else. For us to have, if I speak of what we're going through as a people, we're also going through as a species, every single one of us. So I want to say, like, we've been, and I know everybody here on this call knows exactly what I'm talking about, and has probably even more understanding than I do, and a lot more understanding. We have the understanding of the colonization getting to that point where we don't want our culture anymore. It doesn't fit, and that's a very sad thing. But it's also the understanding that we are evolving. So while it is sadness and there is pain, we are evolving. And our culture is evolving with us. But my understanding of culture is it's the explanation. It's the way that we share the feeling, the way that we convey the connection, the way that we help our young ones and other people to understand. And that's the culture, the story, the song, the dance, the ceremony. That's our way of doing it. But that way originally started from somewhere. That way originally came from the earth. It was shown to us by the earth, by the star tribes, by the animals, the trees, by the stars. It was shown to us. And the culture was our way of expressing it. And in these times, I feel that as the earth shifts and we're shifting, the culture is shifting as well. The stories are becoming more different colors, different experiences. But we're going somewhere with this. So for myself, because it's been so hard and not always accessible, not easily, to connect with the elders, to connect with the old stories here, for a lot of different reasons. Some of them in myself, things I've had to learn and go through in myself. I've learnt more from my surroundings. I've seen, I understand where everybody's at. And I think because of that, I'm another part of humanity that's learning. And I can also hold respect for everybody, even if it's a bit hard for people to be outside of their trauma story enough to hold respect for others. It doesn't mean that others can't hold respect for that trauma story and what people are going through. I think everyone, and I think this is eldership is seen by the elders. I'm not saying I'm an elder, I'm nowhere near it. But one thing I'd expect to have by the time I get there is the ability to sit back and see things clearly without any judgment or expectation from myself. And be able to see things and understand. So crazy days. Not trying to understand anything right now, but just trying to pay attention. Pay attention to myself. Pay attention when other people speak. And although I'm going through a lot of feeling, a lot of growth, not make it all about me. Try and stay in service as well. And I think that's one of the main things. Understanding that even in our personal journey, we are in service to something else. Bigger picture. A future that's not here yet. keep remembering how beautiful this place is. Yeah. Keep being thankful that we do have the older brothers. We do have the stories that keep getting shared. Help us remember the important things. And then no matter how far ahead humanity gets, those original principles will always be important. So yeah, thank you so much for allowing me to speak. And I'm honored to be part of this group. And it's good to feel, whenever I feel things here in this land, I can feel through this country or everybody else. It's all one mother. Just appreciation. Ain't she beautiful? Strong and powerful. Goddess. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Jarmbi. Really like to, you could share with us that beautiful sound that you always share with us, if it's possible, brother. A blessing to all grandfathers, our ancestors, and also our grandmothers, and all that we are here.
I take it you're not talking about my singing voice.
Thank you so much, Brother Jarmbi. We are honored to hear that sacred sound. Even though it was very close to the mic, we could even feel that in our hearts. Kamadi, thank you so much. Now we are going to pass the flourish word to our brother Mahesh. He's Sufi from India, and he's also a member of the Earth Delegation. Go ahead, please, brother. Give us your teachings and also share with us your wisdom. Present yourself, please.
Thank you, Mindahi. Morning, everyone. So, I'm just start with this story. Then maybe it's understand to what we are going and where we are looking. A old guy. It's very far time. A old guy sitting outside the village. Then one tourist is coming. Like one traveler is coming, and he asks him, "I want to stay in this village. Can you tell me, please, how the people there is, how they are in behavior?" So the old guy telling him, "Can you tell me, please, in which village you are coming and how the people are from there?" Then he's saying, "Oh, don't talk about these peoples. This is the worst time of my life. They are the useless people. All are like enemies kind of peoples. I don't want to talk about these peoples. Just tell me how the people are in your village. I want to stay here forever." So old guy told him, "This village is much worse. Don't stay here, brother. You find some another place because this is not for you. Really, there is more difficult to live for you." Then he is going far. He is past this village. After some time, a new stranger is coming again. The old guy meet him same place. He asked him, "I want to stay in this village. Can you tell me, please, how the people there is?" The old guy asked him same question. "Can you tell me, please, brother, which village you are coming from or where you coming from or how people there is?" He's saying, "Oh, when I'm thinking about my village or my peoples, they are so loving, so helping each others. They are so peace and kind for everyone's. But some nature disaster, we all lost all things. That's why I'm just coming for finding some work here. Maybe after some time I love to go back in my village, definitely one day." So old guy told him, "Don't worry, stay in this village. This is the most beautiful village in this world. You never miss your village again. I promise." So in this story, if we all look, this is the perception of our life, actually what we are looking. This is our inner world. In Bishnoi and Guru Zambeshwar and all religious people like Buddha and in Hindu culture or in Indian culture basically, the all enlightened souls, they're saying this. You need to be change the roots actually. If you did not change the roots, if you did not go enter inside you, or you're just trying to make up outside the world or trying to clean the whole outside things, so this will never work. Maybe this will work, but where is like outer shape is okay, but if you did not cut the inside roots, where it comes from, where we are coming from, rather than our whole action is false. Once we connect our soul, once we know that who we are actually, then our whole action is the favor of humanity, favor of nature. Today I'm looking like most of people are very worried about this corona things and this mashup thing all around the world. Like this corona, people dying every day, people are like full scared. But I'm looking beautiful change in this world in this last few months during this corona stage. The whole aeroplane is closed, whole traffic is closed. I'm looking how much weather is clean here. Last 5-6 months, I'm at my village. It's a very small town. It's in a very close to Delhi, but it's a very small village. And in 4 months, in my village, more than 600-700 trees they plant. Everyone planting the trees at home and surrounding the villages. And I'm looking so much is like people are connected again with the nature. How much they are considered from the nature, because nature sent the symbol sign us. Okay, now ready for this. You just mesh up all around the world already. Don't need to be so much this race of money, race of name, fame, and anything else. Just be yourself. What you look inside you. And people realize this now. I felt this in my village. I'm looking all around, new birds and new species is coming again. In Delhi, you never seen the cloud. You never seen the sky actually. So much polluted. But in 4 months, it's everything is cleaned. I'm not saying people are not died, but if we're looking our true nature, we are not this body, we are not this mind. We are beyond this. We are the watcher of this. We're looking everything. And I feel this. These beautiful souls all around the world, we are together. And all are how much consider from the nature and what they feel actually. This is we need to be everyone feel. Otherwise, this time will be more. We are lost. If we lost our soul, we lost everything definitely. So my guru always saying, oh, the simple techniques and simple beautiful way in Bishnoi or all in Indian religious people or like enlightened souls, they are my gurus. They're saying this, okay, doing meditation, be patient, compassion, and full love in your heart. Because the only two feather in life, the two way of living is very beautiful if you want to live with and connect with the nature again. First is meditation and second is love. If you're doing meditation, so love is follow like you should always. And if you are in love, so meditation follow you like a shadow. So this is a beautiful way to living. This planet is so much beautiful. Don't make worse here. Don't need to be make rubbish things here. We all are brother and sisters, and all creatures are we are one. There is no duality. There is all life is the real life is start. There the real life is begins actually. Where duality is gone. Where oneness is start. We looking the oneness. We are one. And I feel this in every breath of my life. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. Lots of love and peace.
Thank you so much, Brother Mahesh. Beautiful, beautiful how you play the flute. It brings me to the sacred mountains. And I really appreciate the deep understanding and civilization of India. And we know that our brother and grandfather, Pulu, Jibi Pulu, has been traveling for more than 1 hour and a half to get Wi-Fi. But it's not easy for him to be on time. And we know that they have sent us a message that he was already on the Zoom call, but we don't know if he's around yet. We have been receiving messages that he's already in the waiting room. If somebody can allow him to go in, he's in the waiting room of Zoom call. So we can have his participation. So he's in, please turn on Grandfather Jibi Pulu from Mishmi, India, and give us your words, give us your wisdom. Share with us, Grandfather. Go ahead. It seems that he's not in yet. We were said that he was in, but we still not, I don't see him around. Can somebody help us if someone can help us if he can be on in the Zoom call? Otherwise, meanwhile, we can address one of the questions and share with our grandfathers and men. And this question was sent by Matt Perry from Bellingham, Washington. He said that we all sense a rise in today's divine feminine. And he says, I yearn for the day when we can join together with our grandmothers, mothers, sisters, and daughters to lead cultures and countries together. What is the best way for men to support this rise in the divine feminine? How do we step aside and make room for these powerful women, either beside us or ahead of us? So if somebody of the grandfathers and the men can help us to answer this question or this desire to come together. Maybe I can take the word myself, if possible. I can say something. In our cosmovision, we know that women and men, we were created together. And there was a time when we were together. We could give and receive. And because we misbehaved, we came separated. Then in some cultures, patriarchy has been very horrible and has damaged not just women, but Mother Earth, and not all the divine feminine. And also, we know about the unification process, how we can respect and give honor to the feminine, because men cannot live without women, and women cannot live without men in this dimension, in this time and space. So we need to work together, not behind, not in front, but together. If one is on top of the other, it's not good. If one is damaging other gender, is not good. We go to learn from other relatives, other animals, how they live together, how they share tasks together. This is the time for us to appreciate and honor the divine feminine. But we need to be aware also that the feminine need to honor the masculine. Because if we want to make it, if we want to transcend, let's transcend together. And let's erase all patriarchies that are damaging and are misbehaving around the world. Let's work day by day as we greet Father Son, we greet Mother Grandma Moon. We need to remember how to live in cycles. I'm very honored to receive these instructions and these beautiful, beautiful teachings from our brothers, from our sisters, but especially from our grandmothers. So please give room to our grandfather, Pulu. He's on the phone. Please go ahead, grandfather Pulu. Can you speak? I don't see. I'm receiving some messages that grandfather Pulu is around, but I don't see him.
Mindahi, we've been checking, and he would just pop right on to the screen for us. So he's not in our system. I hope he's using the right Zoom. I'm so sorry that he's gotten up in the very middle of the night and driven an hour and a half to come and bring his heart and his sharing here. So if everyone will be patient just a moment, let us see if we can help him check and see if he's got the right Zoom link.
Well, I was sharing with you that this is the time for us to come together as men, as women. And there's going to be times when women are going to
7 o'clock.
Go ahead, but side by side with us. And there's going to be times when men have to be also in some particular task, but we are not alone. Women have to be together. So this task is so huge that we need to work and live together in honoring what it is brought to us. If the Great Spirit gave us this body, we need to honor the body. We need to honor also the mind and the spirit. And this is the time for us for the new dawn to come together. So thank you so much for listening. And maybe one of the grandfathers and men of this Earth Mother Delegation want to share some thoughts around these questions, around these issues, how to come together and how to honor the divine feminine. Somebody wants to share with us, grandfathers or brothers? I know that maybe Uncle or Grandfather Milo or Jarmbi, I don't know, maybe some of you want to share. Okay, go ahead. Oh, they are together over there. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Milo.
Put me on. Am I unmuted?
Yeah, I think so, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate the question. And I think the problem is that it's in the language itself. Like Steve Newcomb is always saying, we have to examine how English is used. Because for so long in the English societies that women are property. And this is something that's completely foreign, to Lakota way of thinking, and I believe that when Randy spoke about we iya, sun plus rock is the woman, and then in Lakota and we cha-sha, and we cha-sha just basically means his blood is red. And these are the questions that we have to make a complete different understanding about. I say, even when you say the role of the women, that itself already is wrong. And but this is something that we need to look at in terms of the language that we are addressing with, because in terms of the indigenous understanding, a lot of these words that are used, it always leads to conflict. One time a man told me, he said that the north and south existence, this trail that the sun makes on this earth, is a natural one. He said, but when the West people came, they came across from east to west. He said, every time that those two points meet or cross, there is conflict. And for so many years, the idea of using rape as a weapon, using these as a so-called man's rights, this is where the pollution of the mind is happening. So I think that we can understand this type of question from the point of view that we are experiencing. And English, again, is something that it's always me versus you, this type of question. And a lot of times when my people were talking about this, the first colony of the white man had been the white woman. And so we have to think about things in this way. And for me to think of, a woman as property is something that's, it's based on completely ludicrous idea, because we have never been taught that way. And but today, this conflict, this understanding of how we are understanding this language, this is Lakota or English or whatever the case may be, it is a point of conflict, and we have to examine where that is coming from, because in our society we never had a jail until the white people came. We never had insane asylums until the white people came. We never had a lock on our doors until the white people came. There was never anything wild in this life. When we see the earth, we see friends, we see our relatives. The buffalo is my brother. The eagle is my brother. The sisters that walk on this earth who give birth every springtime. These things is how we understand it. And so, anytime you have to have law and order, you already understand that there is conflict. And so anytime these kind of questions arise, we have to do a self-examination. And this is something that the Western civilizations have never, ever done. They just came, took, saw. I believe it's the Roman that says, I came, I saw, and I conquered. And this mentality, unfortunately, is something that goes on a daily basis. And our brothers and our sisters in particular, missing and murdered Indigenous women is a big problem in our country. Always had been. For centuries, ever since that first man that came to this country, we've had this kind of situation. But I think that once you start, perpetuating a society that says women are property and should have no property rights, and these are, unlearning these pollutions that are going on. But that's what I'm saying about this whole issue. Because, we always say it's a two-legged being on one world, whether that two-legged is a woman or if it's a man. And we have to dream in this way. Because until we do, and to start making fundamental changes in how we use language, these conflicts will continue. And these kind of problems will continue. And we have to do that too, because that pollution of the mind, it's in all of us. But we have to understand it as such. So thank you very much for this particular question. I hope that gives you some understanding.
Thank you, Grandfather Milo. Uncle Angaangaq, please go ahead. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, please.
Yes, me too. I just want to say that, the English language is really, in my capacity to understand, very, very limited. My language is really, really full language. And I had to remind everybody that in North America alone, we have some over 600 languages. So we all have a different tongue, but our traditions are so similar. It's amazing to experience. I've been from the very top of the world to the very bottom of the world. It's like I never left my home. When I went to the Amazonia, it was like I was home, except it was 50 Celsius degree warm. And my great aunt, my uncle almost died because of the heat strokes. But beside that, their traditions and the way they were, it was like we never left home, except we were more than many, many thousands of kilometers apart. When I went home to the Lakota land, it's like I just came home. When I went down to the Seminole land, I never left home in Greenland. When I went to the Sapmi land in North Finland, where my wife comes from, I never left home. When I went to Siberia with the The Evenki and Evenia people, it's like I never left home, except there was 12 hours time zone difference. So the way we had to communicate today, we cannot do it in our individual languages. The way we had to do it now is a common language which speaks not in the mind, but in the heart. And unfortunately, English is very much put in the mind, not in the spirit yet. One day we will come to the point where we can understand each other without losing our own identity, but being able to talk and communicate in another tongue. I don't know if it was the question, but the beauty of the languages we speak is stunning. And I pray to the Great One that we will never lose them. That's part of our identity, who we are in our tribes. But we need also to bring that out to the world. And the world is really, really, really big, enormously big. And the indigenous world, being in India, or in Australia, or in the Far East, in Africa, it's like you never leave home. It's the same. The only difference is that the reality of in the East, when the sun rises, the sea is yellow. And we have now learned we have yellow people. In the South, when sun shines highest, the corner sea is always white. And now we have learned that there are white people on this earth. And in the West, where the sun sets, sea is always red. And we have the red people. That's what we have learned now, and that you're talking to us now. And at night, it's always black. And we have now learned that there are actually black people on this earth. So that means we are all one and the same in the same circle, but we all have so many different languages. My prayer is we will all be able to let our language survive, or to express our jointness in one circle, to be able to talk in another language. And for me, English is. I'm not very good in English, but one day I will become an expert in speaking English. That's my prayer. Oh.
Thank you, Grandpa Angaangaq, and Uncle Angaangaq as well. Thank you for your beautiful words. And we ask again if Grandfather Jibi Pulu is around, and if he can unmute himself. Please, Uncle, Grandfather Jibi Pulu, if you can unmute yourself so you can speak. Are you around? Seems that it has been difficult to be in touch, or to be listening to him, but he has been traveling for more than 1 hour and a half.
I know.
And I think it's time.
Mindahi?
Yes?
Can you hear him on the phone? Because then you could put the phone up by the computer and we could at least hear him, if not see him.
No, he's not calling. He's not calling. He said that he was on the call, but we don't see him anywhere.
We've
So
looked everywhere.
He was already in the call, but it's not. So
you know, the Oppo looks like Margine. I can't unmute him for some reason, but the Oppo A92020 looks like he's trying to talk.
okay. Please.
I go to try to find them.
Thank you guys for your patience.
Oh, here he is. Oppo A9 2020. Go ahead, please. Unmute yourself.
Can you unmute him, Margine?
I try, yeah.
I couldn't.
Okay.
Unmute. It's unmute, but
unmute, but we cannot
hear you. Oppo.
Maybe turn on your volume. Turn on your volume.
I can WhatsApp Sahil to help him.
Why don't you? Well, I don't think they're close by.
Yeah,
He'll just help him from where he's at. And
see him on the screen, but we cannot listen to him. So can you please turn up your volume? Grandfather Jibi, Pulu, can you turn up your volume? He's right there. I can see him.
Yeah.
Mindahi, hello, is this Jibi?
So, are looking for that divine masculine.
Moment of peace.
Okay,
Yes,
so
yes, there.
so I know that he's there. We are going to ask for his word, but you know, it's been difficult at this time. So maybe next call we can give him a special time for him to share with us, because at this time it's been difficult.
Okay, I leave it to you, brother.
So we have been waiting for some time. I know he's there. I can see him. He appears as Oppo A9 2020, but we cannot hear him. So sorry for that. And I just want to thank you, everybody, for holding this space, to the grandfathers and men who gave us these beautiful teachings in this beautiful day. We are very grateful. We are very grateful from the Mother Earth Delegation, and from in the name of the fountain and in the name of the Mother Earth, we give you thanks to all grandfathers. Thank you, Uncle Angaangaq. Thank you, Grandfather Steve Newcomb, Grandfather Randy, Grandfather Pulu, that he's there, Brother Jarmbi, who else is around, Brother Mahesh from the Sioux, India, and all that we're here together today. And a special thanks to Grandfather Milo, Yellow Hair, for his great teachings, and also sharing what the feminine is about. And we know that our Grandpa Pulu is trying to set up a connection now. He's in the phone. I can hear that he's trying to tell us something. Let's see if it is possible. Let's wait for a minute, please. And we could hear Grandfather Jibi Pulu from Idu, Mishmi, India. So go ahead if you can speak. Oh, he's right there, but yeah, we cannot listen to him. He's trying. Let's wait for some seconds. Okay.
No.
So we ask for forgiveness at this time, and we send much love to.
It's the volume on the side of his phone.
We have been trying hard, but next time. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, grandfathers. Thank you, men, and thank all women and grandmothers that were behind this beautiful call. Thank you so much. Thank you, and to the next.
No.
Oh, sorry, Grandpa Jibi is here. He wants to say something. Go ahead, please. Hello. Yes, go ahead. Please speak.
He has no sound. No sound.
No, it's difficult. It's difficult. Thank you, everybody, and much love to you and blessings. Pass me I'm going to blow the conch for all of you, for your families, for your territories, for all that you are. Hamadi. Hamadi, Hamadi.